The Cross Little Tadpole by Enid Blyton. Once upon a time, a big mass of jelly lay on the top of a pond. In it were tiny black specks like little black commas. The sun shone down and warmed the jelly. A fish tried to nibble a bit, but it was too slippery. A big black beetle tried a little too, but he didn't like it. The rain came and pattered on the jelly. Every day the tiny black specks grew bigger. They were eggs. Soon it would be time for them to hatch and swim about in the pond as tadpoles. The day came when the black eggs had become wriggling tadpoles, and then the jelly began to disappear. It was no longer needed. It had saved the eggs from being eaten because it was too slippery for any creature to gobble up for its dinner. It had helped to hold the eggs up to the sunshine too, but now it was of no more use. The little black wrigglers swam to a waterweed and held on to it. They were very tiny. When they were hungry, they nibbled the weed. It tasted nice to them. They grew bigger each day in the pond, and soon the other creatures began to know them. There go two tadpoles, said the stickleback, with all his spines standing up along his back. Funny creatures, aren't they? Said the big black beetle. All head and tail, nothing much else to them. Hundreds of them, said the water snail. The whole pond is full of them. I like them for my dinner, said the dragonfly grub. Look, I hide down here in the mud, and when I see a nice fat tadpole swimming by, out I pounce and catch one in my jaws. A good many of the tadpoles were eaten by enemies because they were not clever enough or fast enough to escape. Those that were left grew big and raced about the pond, wriggling their long tails swiftly. One little tadpole had some narrow escapes. One of the black beetles nearly caught him. In fact, a tiny piece was bitten off his tail. Another time he scraped himself badly on the spines of the stickleback, and twice the dragonfly grub darted at him and almost caught him. Each time the little tadpole was very cross. Leave me alone. What harm am I doing to you? I don't want to be your dinner. The pond had other things in it besides the fish, the grubs, and the beetles. It had some frogs, and the little tadpole was always in a temper about these. Those big fat frogs are so rude and bad mannered, he said to the other tadpoles. How I hate them with their gaping mouths and great big eyes. The frogs didn't like the cross little tadpole because he called rude names after them. Sometimes they chased him, swimming fast with their strong hind legs. If we catch you, we shall spank you hard, they croaked. The tadpole swam behind a stone and called back to them, Old croakers, old greedy mouths, old stick out eyes. The frogs tried to overturn the stone and get at the rude tadpole, but he burrowed down in the mud and came up far behind them. Old croakers, he cried, here I am, peep boo, old croakers. The frogs lay in wait for the rude tadpole. He never knew when a fat green frog would jump into the water from the bank almost on top of him. He never knew when one would scramble out of the mud just below him. I'm tired of these frogs, he told the other tadpoles. I wish somebody would eat them. I wish those ducks would come back and gobble them up. The tadpole had never forgotten one day when some wild ducks had flown down to the pond and had frightened all the frogs and other creatures very much indeed. The ducks had caught and eaten 3 frogs and at least 20 tadpoles. It had been a dreadful day. None of the tadpoles ever forgot it. You shouldn't wish for those ducks to come back, said the stickleback. You might be eaten yourself. I'm getting too big to be eaten, said the cross tadpole. Stickleback, what else eats frogs? The grass snake eats frogs, said the pretty little stickleback. I once saw him come sliding down into the water. He swam beautifully. He ate 4 frogs when he came. I've a good mind to go and tell him to come to this pond and eat some more frogs, said the tadpole. He might be glad to know there was a good meal here for him. Well, he's lying in the sun on the bank of the pond over there, said the stickleback. Go and tell him now. But tadpole, listen to me. I don't think I have ever met anyone quite so silly as you in all my life. Pooh, said the tadpole rudely, and swam off towards the bank on which the long grass snake was lying, curled up in a heap. The tadpole poked his black head out of the water and called to the snake, "Hi, grass snake, can you hear me?" The snake woke up in surprise. He looked at the tadpole. "What do you want?" he said. "I've come to tell you that there are a lot of horrid, nasty frogs in this pond, which would make a very good dinner for you," said the tadpole. "If you slide into the water now, I'll show you where to look for them. I'd be glad if you would eat every frog you can see, because they lie in wait for me and try to catch me and spank me." The snake put out his quivering tongue and then drew it in again. "I would come today, but I have just had a very good meal," he said. "I will come back some day when I'm hungry, and you shall show me where to find the frogs then." He glided off through the grass. The tadpole swam back to his friends in excitement. "What do you think?" he cried. "I've told the grass snake about those horrid frogs that want to spank me. He's coming back to eat them one day soon." The days went on, warm, sunny days. The tadpole grew and grew. One day he noticed that he had two back legs, and he was most astonished. "Hello," he said, "I've got legs. So have all the other tadpoles. Rather nice." Then he noticed that he had front legs as well. His tail became shorter. He wanted to breathe up in the air instead of breathing down in the water. He and the other tadpoles found a little bit of wood on the surface of the water, and they climbed up onto it. It was nice to sit there in the sunshine, breathing the warm air. It was fun to flick out a little tongue to see if any fly could be caught by it. "This is a nice life," said the cross tadpole. "A very nice life. I like living in this warm pond. Most of those horrid frogs have gone now, so life is very pleasant." "There's your friend, the grass snake," said the stickleback, poking his head up suddenly. "Why don't you go and tell him to come and gobble up all the frogs in this pond as you said you would?" The tadpole was just about to leap off his bit of wood when he caught sight of himself in the water. The pond was calm that day like a mirror, and the tadpole could see himself well. He stared down at himself in horror and amazement, for he did not see a tadpole but a small frog. "I've turned into a frog," he croaked. I have. And all the other tadpoles are little frogs too. Why didn't I notice that before?" "Tadpoles always turn into frogs. I could have told you that before, but you never would listen to anyone," said the stickleback. "Well, are you going to find the grass snake and tell him to come and eat you and all your friends too? You said you would tell him where the frogs were in this pond." But the tiny frog did not go to tell the snake anything. He felt quite certain that he would be eaten at once. He jumped into the pond with a splash and swam as fast as he could to the other side of the water. Wasn't he a silly fellow? He's 5 years old now and quite grown up, but you have only to say "snake" to him to send him leaping away in fright.